Welcome to the My Rules Are Better podcast. I'm Tom Barbalet. I have a few different updates here. I don't even know where one should begin. So I'm going to an extreme with my podcasting room. The nature of doing video and tables and figures and all this kind of stuff. I sat down with my wife through the week and watched episodically a television show that my wife and I used to watch called Hoarders. And I had forgotten the impact that this thing had on my life when I first watched it. Certainly watching it now, and these are different seasons, so it's a different thing, basically, different group of people. But the parallels between these extreme hoarders and my podcasting room, and I don't even want even an essence of hoarding behavior in my podcasting room. I think there's a level of collection, and then there's extreme hoarding. And my wife has kind of teased me about the fact that a lot of the stuff that I'm doing is very heavily moving into potentially extreme hoarding, and I just don't want that. So I'm going through a deeper cleanse of my podcasting room currently. In fact, I may actually remove the big table and put in a skirmish table instead, just to change the dynamics of the room. Similarly, the bed. Removing the bed, I think, would make the room seem so much more spacious. And really, the thing about it is more psychological than anything. I think I need to start feeling that it's a space not only that is tamed, but is tamed to an extent that I feel a degree of comfort within it. And what's going on parallel to this is really heavily assaulting the lead pile, with the view that my last remaining, well, I've got the fellow in Hull, who's taking a good quantity of stuff, but my last regular figure painter who got me back a bunch of World War II stuff, see Monty's reviews. There's a video up of me unboxing everything. He's like, well, why don't I get you another commission for, how many figures? And I'm just like, My hope is by the end of the year, by giving away or just getting rid of a good amount of stuff. And really, I've gotten another commission from him, but with the caveat that I can roll it into the end of the year commission because they want money in advance, basically. So I've said, look, what will happen here is if I don't have the figures, and I have a couple of Kickstarters that are in flux, 3 Kickstarters actually. In fact, if you count the Kev Adams ones are small Kickstarters. They're a dozen models at most. But I've got the ongoing dog tag thing, which apparently is, I've got a tracking number for it, which no one has any record of. So the dog tag thing is arriving. I'm not sure how many figures are there. I'm thinking maybe 80 or something. I've got a bunch of British and Germans, which the fellow in the UK has agreed he'll start work on. So that eliminates that thing. But I still have a bunch of Winter Russians that apparently were never sent. My thought was they went to work and they were stuck at work. They weren't actually. I got in contact with John Olsen. He actually responded. In fact, I was recording last week and I thought to even mention the fact that Black Tree Design, I mention it in caveat, but I don't actually talk about it because I recorded it and then cut it from the recording. Anyway, John Olsen got back to me. I've got a bunch of Winter Russians that are coming, and that's going to be a similar number. So there are 2 ratios of figure size in terms of painting. There's the 8 to 12, which the fellow in Aptos basically I'm cutting off from. I think he's basically in a commission and a half left from me. And then there's the larger number, which obviously the fellow on the East Coast does for me, and the guy in Hull does for me now as well. So the guy in Hull is just going to be chugging along. Very good. Hopefully. Hopefully I don't burn him out. But yeah, I'm just in the end of this thing. And I was talking with a fellow on the East Coast about, I have some Civil War things that I sent him. These are the Union stuff originally. He said, yeah, it's pretty rough. And I'm like, why am I even paying him? You can see in the video footage actually how rough some of the figures are, particularly with regards to the faces. The faces are just messed up. Like there's no coherence even in the faces of the miniatures. And I'm not really into that. So I've put my foot down with regards to that. And I think what I'm going to do increasingly is just, change the nature of the lead pile. In fact, I might get Condorcite's bow and all the Confederates. That's a gift. I'm organising these gifts currently for people. So yes, it is interesting times associated with just the rationalisation of things. Because really what I want in the future is a very specific image, particularly around rules creation and editing, which I need a specific space for that. I don't quite have the space for it. So I have to do considerations in cleaning up. And apologies for the folks who listen to this thing and just think this is a podcast about psychological reevaluation and dealing with this space. But I really need to have it in a place where I can continue to do what I want to do with this podcast. And that's really the sum of it. What's been beautiful through this period of time is opening boxes and seeing the things from the game at work. I should give that update. Of the game at work, there were 2 relatively central players, Both of them have moved away through this period. 3 central players. They have moved away through this period. So, thankfully I didn't name them. Because I know at least one of them, maybe even 2 of them are listeners to this podcast. So, yeah. Anyway, 3 people have moved away from the group, and they were 3 out of 4 of the core. I don't think I'm going to be playing any more games at work. I think that whole thing has just sailed. So I'm really in a very interesting state with regards to this podcast, just thinking about it as a thing. Will it just become like a solo wargaming playtesting rules creation thing? Like that, is that what it has become? Now I know there are a couple of folks I work with who would still be interested in playing sporadic pickup games, what have you. But it moves very quickly into the kind of skirmish, potentially role-playing, but it's just not the same dynamic. So yeah, you remove 3 key people from a group of about 5 or 6, and you're in the circumstances that I see currently. So that in and of itself has changed the dynamic. So we've talked historically about online play and all this other kind of stuff. Maybe it moves into that, I don't know. But that requires cameras and, that requires something a little bit different. So final stages of getting the podcasting room right. And then slowly but surely I will work through every other aspect of this thing. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff to go through. A lot of ideas, lots of bits and pieces. And yeah, I'm going to hopefully get out of the narration phase of this thing and move more swiftly into actually getting the rules together shortly. So thank you for paying attention. Thank you for bearing with this period. It was wonderful to put out the video of the unboxing. And it was wonderful to get a sense of these figures actually being used. Part of the cleanup has been reducing some of the terrain, but not all of it actually. A good portion of the terrain I've been able to pack up really small. So I don't think that will really cause any particular stress. But yes, thank you for putting up with me, and hopefully we'll get back to regular podcasts and away from bonus podcasts very shortly.